Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination, but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. The nights are long, the days are short, and the weather is chilly to downright cold, depending on where you are. It's a good time to slip into a Quince iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at only $50. You can treat yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price with Quince. If you really want to dive into luxury, you can check out their leather handbags, washable silk shirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for at Quince, all the prices are 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they do that by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the middleman. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. But you've already heard me rave about my Quince travel pants. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/traveler for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. This episode of The Amateur Traveler is again sponsored by DK Eyewitness Travel Guides. DK is one of my favorite travel guides. I have 25 of them myself. Learn more about these colorful and informative guidebooks at dk.com.
I got my bags packed, I'm on a roll. I'm heading out there and I'm ready to go. I'm looking real good in my passport photo.
Amateur Traveler, episode 456. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about a hike through tundra and reindeer as we hike the King's Trail in Swedish Lapland. Welcome to the Amateur Traveler. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. We'll hear more from our sponsor later on, but first let's hear about a rather unusual trek. I'd like to welcome to the show Agata, who is a blogger who blogs at nullandfull.com. You can see how to spell that in the show notes. Agata, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here today.
And you have come to talk to us about a portion of Sweden we have not talked about yet, which is Lapland.
Yes.
What is Lapland? Where would we find that on the map?
Okay, so Lapland obviously is ethnic minority in Sweden, but it spreads from Norway through Sweden, Finland, and Russia. So it's more like horizontal, all right? So you find Sami people in Norway, in Sweden, and in some other countries too. It's very, very interesting and very particular.
And you used a word for that ethnicity that I think most people haven't heard. So could you repeat that one?
Sami people with double A.
Okay. And I had actually not come across that term until I ran into a journalist in Sweden, actually, earlier in the year. So why should someone go to Lapland? It sounds like you're trying to tell us to go someplace cold, to be honest with you.
Yes, it is cold. But actually, there is very short and very warm summer. So I think there is something to both if you prefer cold or prefer summer and warmth, you can find it there. But I would say that Lapland is all about nature and wilderness. It is the last real wilderness in Europe, really.
Hmm.
And you go to Lapland to enjoy nature, wilderness, silence, space. It's all filled with a new meaning when you go there. And also because it is easy to reach, which I found pretty important in traveling.
Right.
You can fly there from most of European cities, then ride a train and bus, and in less than 24 hours you're there on track. So I fly there from both from Italy and Poland, and every time it was just perfectly organized. So the bus was waiting for the train, etc. It works like in a Swiss watch.
And what kind of itinerary would you recommend for Lapland? Where should we start and what should we see?
Okay, I would strongly encourage to walk so-called King's Trail, and it's called in Sweden Kungsleden.
Hmm.
So the whole trail has more than 400 kilometers, but you can actually start your walk in 5 different places, make it much shorter. So in a week, I would say that you are able to cover about 100 kilometers with no rush. I mean,
Okay.
quite easily. So the trail is fit to all levels. I met families and retired people who walked it. So I think each person who is able to carry like 10-kilo backpack can do it.
Okay. And we have a lot of our North American audience. So we're talking about a 22-pound backpack and
Right.
roughly a 240-mile trip. And you're doing a quarter of it, so about 60 miles.
Yes, in a week.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And where do we start, first of all? You're picking out one segment for a week's itinerary. So do you have a favorite quarter of the King's Trail?
Yes, I do. And actually, quite a few other people make it their own favorite. And there is a reason for that. So I would start walk in Nikolauta. This is a very small village close to Kiruna.
Mm-hmm.
So you go by night train to Kiruna, then you take the bus and you are in Nikolauta the very same day. So you start your walk and then you follow the trail to Kebnekaise. And actually this is so special because right there is this highest peak in Sweden that is called Kebnekaise. So what people normally do is that they follow the track, but then they go for one day to climb the highest peak in Sweden and then go back and then they continue walk.
And how tall is the highest peak in Sweden?
2,097 meters, and it is 6,882 feet. So it's not that high, but nevertheless, it's covered with snow all year round. And so, starting in Nikolauta, then Kebnekaise station, there's the largest mountain hut in the area, and then you follow through Sengi, Solka.
Well, and before you follow on here, let's pause just a little bit here. Mountain hut. I'm not sure that everybody has a picture of what you mean by a mountain hut. In some places, a mountain hut serves you a hot meal. In some places, a mountain hut is a mountain hut. I don't know which we're talking about here.
Okay, in Sweden, this is very particular, and I think it makes the whole experience really amazing because the hut is really simple. There is no running water, no electricity.
Mm-hmm.
But there is always a guard, a volunteer that stays there for like 2 weeks. And he keeps an eye on the whole hut. And so inside what you have is dry and warm rooms. And also there is wood that you can chop and you can burn so to heat the inside of the hut. And believe me or not, but this wood there is so dry that 2 sticks is more than enough to warm the whole hut for the whole night.
And that's one of the reasons you're getting by with a lighter backpack is that you're still sleeping indoors.
Yes, but also every 2 or 3 huts, there is possibility to buy some food.
Ah, okay.
So there is no need to bring everything with you.
Excellent.
I mean, you need to have some cans or dry food for 2 days, but then you come to a place where you can buy quite easily something to eat, so no worries.
Okay, excellent. And go on from where you were. I just needed to make sure we were all on the same page there.
Sure. So Kebnekaise, then you follow to Singi. This is the part of the trail that leads from east to west. So in Singi, you turn to north. So you walk after that to Solka. You pass the Chakcha Pass, that is the highest point of all Kungsleden, and then you go practically down. So there is Chakcha Hut, there is Alesjaure Hut, Abisko Jaure, and then you finish your trail in Abisko in the north.
And I'm picturing an alpine, a lot of fir trees or some sort of evergreen trees.
Okay, no trees at all.
No trees at all. We're up above the tree line
Yeah.
because we're so far north.
Yes, and this is also very particular because it's tundra.
Oh, okay.
So everything what grows is very, very just small. For a
Stunted.
couple of days, you don't see even one tree.
Which is why there is firewood in the huts, because I'm not just going to find
Yes.
firewood. Okay, I'm
Yes.
catching on now.
All right. So just when you cross from Alesjaure to Abisko Jaure, that's the first moment when you see the trees again.
So how far then am I, when I'm up on the mountain, how far am I seeing?
Well, actually, the whole trail, that's the beauty of this trail is because this is very flat. And the way it is organized that you follow the valley. So what you get as a result is just pure beauty because on the left-hand side and right-hand side, you have high mountains
Okay.
and you are down there. And if you go there in the middle of August, the beginning of September, then you get absolutely breathtaking scenery. Because down there where you walk is still autumn, which means red and yellow colors, very vivid. But up there in the mountains, it's already covered with white snow. So it's not about like seeing very far because you're always in the valley, but what you see is actually breathtaking. And from this highest point, as I said, the Chakcha Pass, you see both valleys, and this is really spectacular. I mean, really, really beautiful.
Let's take a break here and hear from our sponsor, who is DK Eyewitness Travel Guides. I'd like to welcome back DK and thank them for sponsoring the show. I certainly hope you will show your appreciation as they're helping get this show out. Not only did they sponsor the show, but they also sent me 5 new guides. And I know that I should be more excited about the sponsorship than the guides, but I do like these guidebooks. So I was just a little giddy when I saw the 5 new guides, and they sent me Seville and Andalusia, Mexico, Marrakesh, Morocco, and a top 10 guide to Buenos Aires, which we'll be using when we fly to Buenos Aires tomorrow. And again, I love the DK Eyewitness guides. I'll have to say I went back in time a little bit when I opened up the one to Andalusia and opened up the street-by-street map of the city of Ronda. If you haven't seen Ronda in Spain, it is spectacular, and they do a good job of capturing it. If you don't believe me, go to your nearest bookstore and open up the guide to Andalusia, look at Ronda, and see if they don't have you booking a plane ticket. Again, you can learn more about their guidebooks at dk.com. Please thank them for sponsoring The Amateur Traveler. Now, you've got us there in August, which you said is really fall there. So summer is fall, fall is winter, and what is winter?
Winter is long.
Winter is long.
Because it starts at the end of September and lasts until May. And actually, to give you the picture, in May, at the beginning of May, you can still ski there.
Okay. Cross-country ski.
Exactly. So either you will walk it in the summer or autumn.
Okay.
Both are very rewarding experiences.
Okay. And you said we were also going to see the wildlife.
Yes, there is a couple of animals that for me was so amazing to see. First of all, reindeer.
Okay. If we had not gotten reindeer in a show about Lapland, I would have been very disappointed.
So indeed, if you walk it in the end of August, just as I usually do, you will get a couple of herds, but not like thousands of them, because what happens is that in the middle of August, Sami people bring the reindeer down.
Okay.
So there is this whole ceremony and this habit to bringing down the animals just to make sure that they are safe for winter
So
time.
they've been grazing in the higher plateaus and mountains during the short summertime,
Yes.
and then they bring them down as the snow comes back.
Yes.
Okay.
But the point is that obviously they are not able to catch all of them.
Okay.
So the herds that you see are actually the ones that are left.
Oh,
But
interesting.
there are quite a few, and actually they come to you quite close. And I remember one situation that I was just sitting there having my breakfast, and I'm turning around, and there he is, the huge reindeer, watching me. And it was like, wow, this is it. I mean, the wildlife there, just grab your hand and just touch it. So there, quite possibly, you will meet a reindeer pretty face to face.
And you say a large reindeer. How large is a large reindeer?
It was taller than me, right?
Okay. That's what I figured, yeah.
So it was big.
I think of them being larger than what we see for deer and smaller than what we see for a moose, but somewhere
Yes,
in that
yes,
large
somewhere.
range.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Excellent. Are there other wildlife that you expect to see or that's a real highlight for this trip?
This is the highlight because it's the easiest to spot, and they cross your path.
Okay.
So you can be sure that sooner or later you will meet a reindeer. But I know that there are also bears there, but I've never seen and never spotted any of them.
And we don't necessarily want the bears to cross our path.
No,
So.
no, no, not necessarily.
And is there more to the experience that you would like to share?
Most of all, for me, this was so special because the beauty of autumn tundra is something really hard to describe, but really worth it to see.
Of course, I'm going to make you try and describe it.
Of course. So for me, for example, it was so brilliant to wake up when sunrise and just immerse myself in total silence. And it's possible right there. I mean, there's no interference of any kind. So the silence and maybe the sound of north wind is something that you really experience there. And nature, even though this is not packed with animals because the climate is harsh, you just go there and you just immerse yourself in silence and the space. The experience is really powerful of you being there, being a small person surrounded by wilderness. That's what this is all about, I think.
As I'm walking the trail, is it rocky? Is it spongy, as I sometimes have seen tundra? I mean, what kind of terrain is it?
Terrain is, I would say, dirty path. From time to time, it's rocky, but not excessively. But what is the whole beauty of perfect organization of Swedish country, well, Nordic country in general, is that in spongy places, just as you said, there are some wooden paths. Well, it is helpful because you don't have to walk into water or in a marsh or anything gloomy. So.
And is it well marked then? It sounds like it is in that part, at least.
It is very well marked. And also when you cross the stream, there are bridges constructed.
Okay.
So you can feel totally safe.
And as we're stopping every couple of days and we're buying something to eat, that's canned food or freeze-dried food or something like the usual hiking sort of food? Or
yes.
There's no Swedish surprises here waiting for me.
No, it is really high quality mountain food, I would call it this way. But also it is well organized from the point of view of a walker or trekker, because each mountain hut has a fully equipped kitchen.
Okay.
So you can boil your water, you can even warm it to wash yourself. So there is no need to go into the freezing cold stream
or bring yourself a camp stove either. Then it sounds like
Okay. So it is. You can feel safe also in terms of food and preparing meals.
Is there a possibility that the cabins will fill up? Do I need reservations or anything like that?
If you are a single trekker, you don't need to inform in advance that you are coming. Only groups are kindly asked to book the place, but it's mainly because they will keep, for example, one mountain hut only for a group, so they could stay together.
Okay.
but well, the huts fill up quite quickly. But
Okay.
I've never experienced any situation that there is no place for me as a trekker.
And if this one fills up, the next one is how far?
Like 10 kilometers, 12
Okay.
kilometers.
A bit of a walk.
Well, I did a couple of times. I did two stages in one day, and
Uh-huh.
it is possible for a fit person, no problem with that. Because as I said, it's flat.
Right.
So it's only about the distance, not about altitude or anything like that.
What's going to surprise me about this hike?
For me, the main surprise was about how quickly I accommodated to what nature provides. Like after only 2 days, I went to sleep when it's getting dark and I woke up when it was bright. And it is just amazing to observe yourself if you leave behind all of these technologies and things that we are used to every day. You're just there and you don't need anything else. And I've discovered how little I need to feel alive and to feel happy. You just have your little backpack, you wake up when the sun rises, and then you just walk for the whole day. It's just going to the basics.
I just have the picture of me walking all day looking for a cell signal, so we may not have the same mental picture here, I'm afraid.
No.
And what's one warning you would give about the trip?
I would say that a part of experiencing the King's Trail, I would say that there are two other things that you should see. So first is Kiruna. As a little town, it's very interesting because it is relatively small town, but its existence is strictly related to the ore mine, and actually the largest ore mine in the world. So the climate is harsh. People created a very interesting community there because they are really highly related to each other.
And what type of mine is it?
Iron ore mine. The whole town is there just because of the mine.
Okay.
I would put it this way.
And because of that, I would think it would be more traditional Swedish rather than Sami, for instance.
Totally Swedish, yeah.
Okay.
And then the second thing that I would really highly recommend is Abisko as a very small village. You have this mountain hut there run by STF, so Swedish Tourist Organization. And actually, Abisko is really beautiful because, there is this national park there that covers also the lake and some part of the mountains. But what is really spectacular is something that is called the Lapland door or Laporten in Swedish. So there is a very weird and very beautiful formation of two peaks that are close together and they are shaped in a door shape. So they called it Door to Lapland, and it's really beautiful.
Excellent. And the whole trail is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, as I recall you telling me.
Not the whole trail,
Not the whole trail,
but this part of Lapland that you cross.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get to my last, say, 4 questions as we go to wrap this up, anything else we should know before we go?
In terms of luxuries that you also find even there in this total wilderness is this sauna. And I think it is really particular in terms of the whole experience because you go there when it's dark already. And like every second or every third mountain hut has it. And actually, when you go to the information point, you get a small booklet, and every mountain hut is described, so you know in advance where the sauna awaits you. So a volunteer that is warden there, he or she heats sauna in the evening. So you go there when it's total darkness outside. And what I liked most of this whole experience was the smell, because obviously they use this very dry wood from the surroundings, so they get this wood from Sweden, they don't import it from somewhere else, and the smell of this very dry wood burned is something really, really special. And also when you are heated already and you go outside, there is more or less around zero. And if you go to swim in a stream or in a lake, This is just the moment that you feel totally alive, really. And so I enjoyed it very much as the whole experience. And also, you meet some people inside. This is the time for stories. So I remember a lot of the volunteers that were working there were telling the stories about why they volunteered, how it is organized, what they like most, and the stories that you just sit there and just listen to it in awe.
Do you remember one of the best stories, or?
I remember a story that really fascinated me was about organization, how they make sure that it works so efficiently. So actually, if you are a warden, you have to prepare your clothes and all that you need a year in advance.
Oh my goodness.
You put it in a huge plastic box with your name and all the data, in which hut are you going to be. And then it waits for winter season. In winter, they take this snowmobile, and people from STF, other volunteers, just bring them to all mountain huts, just riding the snow. And so when next year you go there, your plastic box awaits you. But when you end your term there, you put everything again in your plastic box, you close it, and you wait for until next winter to have it transported back. So the whole cycle, it takes 3 years for you from the moment that you put your clothes into the box until you get it again in your house. So I found it pretty amusing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're standing in the prettiest spot in the whole trail. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
For me, it was Singi Mountain Hut. So this is the moment where you come from the east and you merge with south-north trail. And you are looking there at both the valley that goes north-south and the other one that comes from the east. And I think that the mountains there are just really amazing because they're really, really old.
Okay.
So in terms of geological formation, they are very old and it makes them very dark. So the feeling that I had was if I was in the Lord of the Rings movie, really.
Okay.
Even though it was not New Zealand, but you get this amazing feeling of just standing there in front of really, really old formations. So for me, that was it.
Okay. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Lapland.
Reindeer that is trying to steal your breakfast.
I think that is safe to say that is probably only going to happen to you in Lapland. Last two questions. Finish the sentence. You really know you're in Lapland. You really know you're on the King's Trail when what?
When you wake up in the morning, you go to bathroom and you find the water frozen.
Oof.
You have to crush it before you wash your hands.
And if you had to summarize the whole experience in just 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Silence, wilderness, and beauty.
Excellent. Our guest again has been Agata. Where can people read more about your travels?
Obviously on my blog, nolanful.com, all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all Nolan Full.
And we say Nolan Full, it's null, the letter N, and full. So 9 letters total, Nolan Full.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
And I just wanted to share the news about my future project that I'm running, and I think it's really exciting. So this March, we are starting with a huge project called travelwithbooks.com. And it's basically the whole idea is that we will share one travel-related quote a day and just encourage people to read more books. And I invited 23 top bloggers and also writers. Just to give you a taste, I invited Dervla Murphy to join the project, Anthony Satin, and other writers that are famous. And so we are going to share one quote a day for 30 days with lovely pictures, and you are welcome to have a look. So travelwithbooks.com.
Excellent. Well, Agata, thank you so much for coming on The Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your love for Lapland.
That was a pleasure. Thank you.
In news of the community this week, I heard from Jason, who said, "I'm not selling or pitching anything. I just wanted to say thank you for Amateur Traveler. I've listened to dozens of episodes, including some I've heard more than once. I started listening to the podcasts to gather information. I've kept listening because they're so entertaining. My wife, 9-year-old son, and I are starting a 9-month round-the-world trip in July 2015. Europe, Slovakia, Austria, Venice, Greece, Turkey, East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Asia, India, Nepal, Southeast Asia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and South Vietnam, South America, Argentina, Bolivia, Peru. We'll be taking our podcasts with us on long bus rides and flights. Your podcasts are incredible. Thank you." And Jason, I'm wondering why you're taking my podcasts and not me. But thanks for writing. I had asked recently if anybody could top 20 DK eyewitness guides, and Jim wrote and said, "I was sure I could top 20 guides, but I guess I'm doing too good a job of throwing things out or giving them away." We do have a lot of guidebooks and an incredible number of language books for people who speak maybe 1.5 languages, but not as many DKs as I thought. Why to Italy? Don't know. My wife and I had the same idea, I guess. Thanks, Jim, for that. And with that, we'll end this episode of The Amateur Traveler. I'm not quite sure what the schedule will be over the next couple weeks. We may skip a week as I'm on a boat off the coast of Argentina, but you'll hear more about that later. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Chris2X. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
I got to see one more cathedral.